quiet, steady awe. What you are looking at is an entire closed ecosystem. This enormous glass ring houses 12,000 of the sharpest engineering minds on the planet, all operating under a single continuous roof. When most multi-billion-dollar corporations expand, they build upward. They construct towering vertical skyscrapers to maximize their footprint in crowded urban centers. This animation illustrates the problem with vertical design. Look at the tower on the left. It traps information. If you work on floor 40, you have almost zero chance of bumping into someone on floor 12. The architecture physically fragments the workforce into isolated silos. Now look at the horizontal ring on the right. Information flows in an endless, unbroken loop. By curving the structure into a circle, the building eliminates physical dead ends. It forces people to walk the curve, meaning employees from entirely different departments are forced to intercept and interact organically. The geometry of the building itself is a behavioral engineering tool. It dictates exactly how 12,000 people collaborate. Moving 12,000 people into a single location requires a massive footprint. You are essentially building a small, highly specialized town. And small towns require massive, highly visible infrastructure. A population this size needs tens of thousands of parking spaces, heavy utilities, and loading docks, elements that usually pave over a landscape with sprawling, ugly concrete. This cross-section reveals how they solved that paradox. Instead of paving the surface, they buried a massive, multi-tiered labyrinth of parking and structural grids deep underground, leaving only a thin layer of topsoil and thousands of planted trees visible above. This subterranean network acts precisely like a root system. It handles all the heavy vehicular traffic and logistical feeding of the campus, completely invisible from the pristine surface above. That rigid control of the environment extends outward to the campus perimeter. There is a strict, heavily enforced physical boundary separating the active working campus from the dedicated visitor center where the public is actually allowed. Every chaotic necessity of daily operation is either buried underground or walled off. The architecture actively hides the mechanical friction of the company to present a flawless, quiet surface to the rest of the world. Inside that quiet perimeter lies the most heavily restricted zone of the entire campus, the Research and Development Building. This wing operates in total lockdown. It functions as the cortex of the facility, where teams prototype hardware and software years before the public will ever see them. Maintaining that level of elite, high-stakes engineering places an immense psychological and cognitive load on the human brain. Over time, that kind of intense focus inevitably drains the workforce. This 100,000 square foot fitness center was engineered as a high-performance recovery system for the company's human capital. Every machine and wellness space is strategically placed to offset the cognitive exhaustion of the R&D wing, providing the physical maintenance required to sustain 12,000 people in a high-output environment. The architecture creates a self-contained cycle of productivity, extracting mental focus in the labs and then mechanically regenerating physical energy in the fitness center to keep the entire workforce within the campus loop. But all of this cyclical metabolism, the collaboration, the buried logistics, the daily drain and recovery, eventually has to point somewhere. It all points to the Steve Jobs Theater. This auditorium is the geographic and philosophical focal point of the entire landscape. Look at this architectural floor plan. While the main ring is designed to keep everything completely hidden from the outside world, this circular layout is built entirely to focus a global spotlight directly onto that single center stage. It is the ultimate physical funnel. The collaborative chaos of 12,000 distinct minds narrows down to one executive standing alone on that platform. When they unveil a piece of new technology here, it represents the final output of the entire ecosystem. Apple Park functions as a highly tuned, multi-billion-dollar machine. It is engineered to capture the collective output of a small city, refine it in total secrecy, and compress it into one carefully controlled moment of revelation.